All right. Good afternoon, everybody. We are so excited to have everyone join us for Elevating Hotel Success Through Strategic Hiring. I'm Paul Breslin. I'll be your host today, and I am so excited to be with two very, very smart individuals who are experts at what we do. And just by way of introduction, I'm Paul Breslin. I'm the managing director of Horwath HTL. I'm based here in Atlanta, Georgia, and we help consult with hotels all over the country, actually all over the world, with 55 offices. So I'd like to turn it over to Adam and have him introduce himself. Adam Robinson, CEO of Hireology.
Yeah, thanks, Paul. Appreciate that. Hi, everyone. Welcome. I'm Adam Robinson, founder and CEO of Hireology. We are, of course, a talent technology platform dedicated to helping hoteliers, have everything they need to be great at building their best possible team. So it's great to be here. We work with several hundred hotel properties throughout, North America, and over 10,000 individual operators to help them get this right. This is awful tough, and I'm excited to be here, helping the industry, and focus on and improve what is, most every operator's number one issue. So thanks, Paul.
Thank you. And Ryan Minton, author, executive, and hotelier from TPG. Why don't you tell them a little about yourself, Ryan?
Hey, Paul and Adam, thanks for having me. Yes, I am an author. I wrote a book about employee experience. It's my passion. It's called Thanks for Coming In Today, Creating a Culture Where Employees Thrive and Customer Service is Alive. I've also been with TPG for 5 years in a variety of roles. I started as a general manager and I've worked my way up to be a senior executive with the company now. And my passions really do lie in creating great places to work.
Great. Well, let's jump right in. I think this is, as I think you both said it best, that this is one of the biggest challenges we have today. There's no question that there are several things that lead to why it's a challenge in today's market. And I hope that we get to talk a little bit about firsthand experience of how to use Hireology, how it's helping, how it plays into what we do every day as hotel people. So why don't we just jump in a little bit and talk about this climate or this change today, and maybe we'll kick off with Adam just talking a little bit about some of these statistics and what you're seeing today.
Yeah, thanks, Paul. I mean, everyone can see here, the industry's reporting it's tough. It's been tough since we emerged from the pandemic. Of course, our industry led the nation in job losses, but for the last 3 years has led the nation in jobs added. And so we've been on quite the roller coaster in the industry, certainly below the peak employment that we saw in 2019, but we're getting back there pretty quickly as the industry's rebounded and just shows its resilience. I mean, the biggest challenge today is that there just aren't enough people available in the labor pool today. So we have 1.5 jobs for every one available worker. And where, we hear in the press, there's in professional jobs, there's a bit of a pullback or recession in employment. But if you're in this industry, you've never seen anything even approximating a pullback in demand for people. We are at peak demand for people. And if everyone looking for a job in the hotel industry found it, we'd still have, another 50% worth of roles to fill. It's an industry. It's challenged to find people. The hours can be demanding. The jobs can be demanding. And we have an opportunity on the positive side to get some things right and put our best foot forward, both in terms of experience in the hiring process that we're delivering, as well as experience for the employee, which is Ryan's wheelhouse. Once they're on our payroll, how do we deliver on the promises we made in the recruiting process? And the good news is, if there are a couple of things that if you do them well, if you move quickly, and you're talking about the things that this labor pool really cares about, which we'll cover, you can be successful doing this, and it can provide you competitive advantage.
Yeah, I agree. And it saves you money if you get the right person and keep them. And in this idea of designing the job and creating the right culture, Ryan, you've kind of made, I love this term, thanks for coming in today. Why'd you choose that title, and maybe tie it into how do you how do you really do create a culture?
Well, the reason for the title is a bit of a personal story. I'll share it. My very first job in the hotel business was front office manager at the Cincinnati Marriott North, which was a Weingarten Hammonds hotel. They're no longer around, but I had a young man who worked for me by the name of Jason, and Jason was just one of those folks with just a really infectious level of energy, passion, always excited. No matter what he did, he just brought 120%. He would come to work every day so excited to be at work. I joke when I tell this story that I'm very convinced that Jason was pounding Red Bulls in the parking lot before he would come in for his shift, because he just had that level of energy. And Jason would seek me out no matter where I was. And he would come up to me at the beginning of his shift, and he would give me this huge gripping handshake, and he would say, "Ryan, thanks for coming in today." And, it was always so funny because obviously I'm his boss. So
Right, right.
really I should have been thanking him, but he would thank me, and he would do this with everyone. He'd do it with guests, he'd do it with his coworkers. And as Jason moved up through his career, so did I. And I became a general manager. And I had the opportunity to hire Jason as my front office manager at another hotel. And about 3 months after I hired Jason, on July 4th, in the middle of the night, about 3 a.m., I received a phone call from his fiancee, Christina. And Christina was letting me know that Jason would not be at work the next day because he had been killed in a car accident.
Oh my.
And, it just absolutely devastated me. I mean, Jason was my friend at that point, and when I hung up the phone, I'll never forget immediately just starting to think about how much I was going to miss Jason saying, "Thanks for coming in today." As odd as that sounds, of all the things, right?
Right.
And so I spent a lot of time on that, and what I recognized was, even though I was Jason's boss, every time he said, "Thanks for coming in today," to me, it made me feel like I mattered. And that's a good feeling, right? I mean, I think you guys would agree. It feels good to feel like you matter. And so I really started to connect the dots on that, and the success that I was having in my hotels and going into underperforming hotels and turning them around in a somewhat short amount of time. And it was always attacking the culture piece first, the employee experience piece first, and not complicating it. It really was boiling down to, employees want to feel like they matter. Employees who feel like they matter are going to make customers feel like they matter. That's a Bill Marriott 101 concept, right? And so that is something that I preach to this day to our folks, is that, look, we're wearing so many different hats. And these numbers on the screen just reinforce what I'm about to say, is that I really don't think we have any other. The most important responsibility we have is to create a place where employees want to come to work, and then they want to come back the next day and the next day, so that, the employees we do have enjoy coming to work. Because it always blows my mind how many brands, how many industries, how many hotels miss that key point. We put all this time and energy in recruiting and trying to find folks, and then we're not making sure the folks we do have enjoy coming to work.
Right. And it seems so basic, but it's so real. If you, because they say the number one reason why people quit their job is they quit their supervisor, right?
Yes.
Um, so, Adam, how do you tie in this idea with, getting the right Jason? How do you find the right Jason and out there so that you're not spinning your wheels?
Yeah, I think it starts with a mindset that what we're doing when we're recruiting is really, we're retailing jobs. We are in the business of selling opportunity. And you have to think about the business of selling opportunity as a product marketer, right? Is the product I'm selling a fit for? Does it have the features that this market I'm trying to sell to actually wants? It's not, here's a list of duties and tasks. Would you like to work here? We have jobs. It's not a time for money transactional pitch. Because if that's all it is, anyone can throw another 50 cents an hour at their housekeeping staff until the next hotel down the street does the same thing. And then we've just got a giant margin problem. So we're not competing with commodity. We're competing with a differentiated product. And as we'll see in a couple of slides, Paul, I think, there are things we know are most important as features of a product that is employment in today's market. And those things are flexibility, career path, and meaningful work, which we've touched on.
Yeah.
And so if I'm marketing opportunity and I'm trying to offer a differentiated product, I can tell you that employers who demonstrate flexibility, and that just means shift and workplace policy flexibility, helping people with this antiquated notion of work-life balance, which is of course just life now. I mean, we're all just trying to live life, and work weaves its way through it. Post-pandemic, we're looking for top performers in any role in the operation are looking for more than a paycheck. So if I come to work for you, what are the things I can be doing 12 to 18 to 24 months from now? What does the future look like? Is this just a job, or is there a path? And then finally, do I like the people I work with? Do I like my manager? Do I feel like this organization is a kind of place I can believe in? Versus pay and some of these other things that frankly in our survey, making the most money is like ninth on the list. That's just not the mindset today, particularly in this Gen Z cohort, those folks born, and coming of age, really entering the workforce now, about 35-40% of the workforce in their 20s and early 30s, and it's just not as important. And so that would be my first recommendation, is build a product people want to buy.
Yeah, I like that, retailing it and really positioning your kind of what Ryan was talking about, putting it into a descriptive of this is who we are and what we stand for. I had not as dramatic as Ryan's story, but in this regard, I remember being an employee while going to college at FIU at the Fontainebleau. And in the middle of the summer in Miami Beach, they handed me a full wool it was 5-star hotel, and we had to wear these coats in the restaurant. They were literally wool coats, and we would sweat profusely of these things. And then we get to the locker rooms at the end of the day, and we were supposed to shower or change in there, and they were the grossest things we've ever seen. Fast forward, I had the opportunity to go back as director of human resources, and they asked in the interview, the GM said, "Well, what would you change?" I said, "I'm going to guess your locker rooms still don't have air conditioning." And he said, "You're right." And when I was hired as director of HR, the first thing we put in was a $20,000 or $50,000 air conditioning system in our locker rooms, because we had to change the culture. To Ryan's point, was we had to show that we cared about our employees, and we were union, and we had all these negative things, and we had to turn it around. So I lived what you're talking about, and it works. One of the reasons why I was excited to do this panel was because I believe in what you're both preaching. So do we have that slide we can jump to? Because I think those are really good points to make. If we can create that job environment, designing the job so that it meets that culture that you're hearing about. Tell us a little bit, Ryan, how do you get everybody embraced in this idea? How do you, why is it so important, and who creates the culture and who keeps it?
I was just having a conversation with someone the other day. I said that I don't think there's any more important position in the hotel in terms of establishing the culture than the general manager. And so we have a real focus on identifying talented general managers who embrace this, who embrace the understanding of the impact they have personally on their environment, on their particular hotel. what I loved the most about being a general manager was I loved the idea that I had a real impact on the folks that worked with me, and making the 8 to 10 to 12 hours a day that they work there the best part of their day, not the part that they dread, going to every day. And I just feel like, that piece is so crucial. And when you look at the diversity of our workforce, another example I'll give you, one of the hotels that I managed, we recently went outsourced with the food and beverage component, and we had the first month we do monthly pep rallies or luncheons in all of our hotels, and um, I just happened to be on property for the first luncheon that this food and beverage company provided the lunch for, and it's a really high-end steakhouse, like great steakhouse. And they did a great job. They put out a great food, great product. And I told the general manager of the restaurant, I said, I want you to understand how important this luncheon is to us. I don't want you to ever feel like because it's our employees that we can, turn ahead or kind of slouch off. And I said, one of the things I want you to understand is that there's folks in this room that are eating your food that will never be able to afford it
Right.
in your restaurant. And so he just kind of looked at me and he was like, wow, that is something I never would have thought of. And you just gave me a whole new perspective on how we're going to approach this every month. And back to what I'm saying is that, the diversity of the workforce, I mean, all walks of life, that's why I always say, I also think general managers are some of the most talented people, because I mean, there's not many industries where, the CEO of the location has to manage so many different skill sets. I mean, you have, six-figure director of sales in some locations, and you have, housekeepers and food and beverage folks that are making minimum living wages, and everyone in between.
Right.
How you manage the engineer is way different than how you manage the controller. And so, that takes a lot of skill from a leadership standpoint. And I always loved that as a general manager that I had the opportunity to work with that diversity and make each one of those people feel welcome and feel like this is a place they wanted to be every day.
Yes, it's true. And then if you live that culture, if you're doing that, then you can use the tools to, in essence, what you're saying, Adam, is that becomes your greatest, or one of your tools to recruit, right?
Well, absolutely. I mean, recruiting is the art of building trust and explaining the commitment you're going to make to them and asking for their commitment in return. But retention is just delivering on those promises.
Yeah.
And you can promise the world on the front end, but if they come in and it's 88 degrees in the locker room in Miami, you know, they're gonna question whether or not you pulled one over on them in the selling process on the front end. So the actual experience has to meet the sales pitch, but you have to do both really, really well. And nothing sells like happy current employees. And
Right.
so one of the things that we encourage our hotel customers to do, is almost don't take our word for it. Listen to our very happy, engaged, long tenured staff, type of approach to it, and put actual content up from the people in the role currently working there, and celebrate your best.
Oh, that's good. So you're saying post, almost like we do with guest surveys, post the employee surveys and things like that.
Well, I'll take it a step further, and I would say, I'm interested to get Ryan's take on this. Like, in my opinion, your consumer brand, your market-facing brand, and your employment brand are the same brand.
Right.
Because even if 70% of your staff may not be able to afford to stay or eat at the steakhouse, they the what they want is to work for a place where they're doing exceptional work. And if they're coming by the hotel, the main website, and there's a career site on there, that type of property may be attractive to them, and then they want to see what it's like to work there. But your guest considering a stay, or a company considering booking an event, is going to go there. They're going to look at your employment site. I promise you. The second most traffic page on a hotel operator's website is their career page, just past the reservation page. And so they're looking. And so the question is, what are you doing to set yourself apart in the eyes of your customer with exceptional employment branding? These brands, they bleed and blend together. And so, you're delivering on guest experience promises on one side, you're delivering on employment experience promises on the other. And when you do both of those things, you got a really exceptional operation, potentially.
Well, go ahead, Ryan.
Sorry, Paul. Something Adam said that I really really loved was the recruiting and the idea that how did you word it, Adam, that you're delivering on the promises you made during the recruiting?
That's exactly right.
And one of the things that I talk about when I speak at conferences, I've seen different stats. I'd be curious if Hireology has a stat around this, but I've seen numbers across all industries that as much as high as 50% of the people that left their job last year did it in the first 90 days.
That's exactly right.
And when I talk about that, I jokingly say it's because they got the job, they were excited, they showed up, and they realized it sucked. And so they left. And so to Adam's point, I mean, you have to deliver whatever promises you were making in that recruiting phase. So I love that.
Let's talk about that, because some of the big misnomers I found, and I've been a general manager several times, and I've been blessed to be not a GM for the last 18 years, but it's a tough job. It's a young man's sport. But I don't think people leave because of hard work. I don't think people leave because they encounter a problem. I think people leave because of either integrity, or what they feel is mistreatment, or poor communication, or just poor relationship skills. They're more upset with somebody who's demeaning to them than anything. Well, do you guys agree with that? Disagree with that? What are your thoughts there?
Well, what the data says, from our standpoint, is what you're looking at on the screen. The inverse is the reason people leave. So, number one, inflexible workplace policy. If my child gets sick, even if I have to take the time unpaid, are you going to let me, afford me the flexibility to take care of the things that happen in my life? Career growth. Is this a dead end job? Is this a company that invests in its people across all job categories in whatever way makes sense? And finally, fulfilling work. Do I like this place? Do I like what I do? Does my manager have my best interests in mind? Do they care about me? These are all the things that lead to turnover. And we've even got it pinpointed down to day one. What we know is that if a new hire has a great first day, they are 2/3 more likely to be in that on that payroll 3 years later.
Right.
Just a great first day, because you think about it, and Ryan touched on this. You get so excited for the role. You go in, you're expecting, this is going to be different. I can't wait. And one of two things happen. You go home at the end of the day, you tell your significant other or spouse, I can't believe it. I showed up. My locker was ready. My uniform had my name on it, or they showed me my office. I had my business cards printed out. All the IT was set up. The general manager put a handwritten note in there. They provided me lunch. I got a tour. I mean, wow. I mean, they really are on it. I'm so glad I took this job. Or they're going to go home and they're going to say, I can't believe I took this job. No one expected me on the first day. I spent the first 2 hours in a conference room in the back, filling out tax and I-9 forms, waiting for someone to come talk to me. And we just kind of sat around and didn't do much. My cards aren't ready, or my uniform or locker. I didn't even know where I could go to the bathroom and park the car. Like, they're gone, right? I mean, there's your 50% 90-day turnover. Just make day one great. And it sounds simple, but to make that first day great, a lot of intention has to be put into
I
that.
was just going to say that what's underlying each one of these three categories is that you have to care. You have to want that employee, you have to mean thanks for coming, thanks for being here, thanks for choosing us and fulfilling the promise. Anything you'd add,
100% correct.
Ryan?
It's funny. I just listening to Adam talk. It's literally another point I always deliver is how important it is to get the first day right.
Yeah.
And I always use the example of, and inevitably I'll pick someone out of the audience who's single, and I'll pick on them, and I'll say, hey, what do you do to get ready for a first date? And inevitably they talk about how they to get their hair cut, or they might get their nails done, and all these things that really lead to putting their best foot forward for that first date, because it's the old adage, you don't get a second chance to make a first impression. And so it's the same thing with someone's first day. You have to get it right if you want the second date, if you want them to come back the next day. So I think it's huge, and Adam's right. I mean, there has to be some intentionality behind all the things he listed to make sure that first day goes right.
Well, I'm glad Adam Robinson didn't judge me in our first interaction, because I was meeting him out at the Alice conference, and I was looking, I had an appointment with Adam, and I was looking for a different Adam. And this guy kept coming up, like talking to me. And I'm like, excuse me, I'm waiting for somebody. And he's like,
Oh,
well,
yeah.
I'm Adam. Oh, you're the Adam I'm meeting.
That's great.
Yeah,
So
it was
thank you
it was pretty funny. You're a busy man.
Yeah. But no, I kind of moving on to this sourcing channels and just trying to keep the flow going here. What do you think is the most effective way today? Like, how do we reach the winners so that, because when I was a general manager, I used to give my team cards that were about recruiting. They were business cards, but they were really designed when you see someone in the mall, or you see someone that's just going above and beyond, somebody who picks up the trash can, somebody who holds the door for another guest, just hand them your card, say, do you know anybody who might like to work with us? You don't even have to be aggressive with them. But what are you guys seeing today that works to get the best people? And I'll start with you, Adam.
Yeah, going right with what you were saying, Paul. I mean, what we do, I mean, literally in our employee referral platform, we have a QR code generator, and we encourage our customers to print out cards or put that QR code on the back of their business card. And anytime you see somebody, give them out to your team members. Make it
Right.
part of your referral program. Hand the card, scan the QR code, take you straight to an online application that's really easy to fill out. I mean, number one source of quality candidates is employee referrals. Your best staff are your best recruiters, period. And the benchmark we see in the market to aspire to is to have somewhere around 35 to 40% of your core talent sourced through current employees in one way or the other.
I like that. That's
Yeah,
good.
so 35 or 40%, it's really the sweet spot where it starts to it generates big ROI in terms of cutting down recruiting expense and administration, but also drives retention. I mean, they're so directly correlated.
No, I totally agree. I go to church at Buckhead Church here in Atlanta, and the pastor Andy Stanley would say, would you feel proud of inviting someone to our church? And I think the same is true in work. Would you be proud to invite someone to work with us? And this QR code is a brilliant idea. And just having a referral program says that you value hiring quality people too.
Yeah, and it's not just the referral program. You pin it on the cork board in the break room and say we're looking for people. I mean, you've got to do it with tooling that makes it easy. And what makes it easy today is do it with text messaging. And so
Right.
if you're going to scale it, if you're running a multi-site operation, if you're managing multiple properties of any kind of scale, your referral program is your greatest untapped asset. but it can't be run off a spreadsheet with people coming to the accounting team going, I didn't get paid for my referral. Are they still working here? And
Right.
all that. It's just confusing. I mean,
Yeah.
that kills a program pretty quickly.
Yeah.
You've got to put the same intentionality to, at the end
Yeah.
of the day, the employee referring people is your customer. You need to treat them as a customer,
Right.
and make sure that they have access to information and know how it's going. That would be where I'd start.
Yeah. I know when I worked at Omni as a GM, we had a phrase called mirror image. So how we treat our employees has to be how we treat our guests and vice versa. And Ryan, what do you see on this sourcing? What comes to mind for you?
Well, I'm all on board and agreement with the referral programs. I mean, our hotels, we see that's absolutely the number one source. And one thing I would add on this is, have a good referral program. Make sure you deliver on whatever promise it is, but make it attractive. I'm always laugh when I go into a hotel or somewhere and I ask what the referral program. Oh, it's $250, and they get half when the employee starts, and if they're here in 90 days, they get the other half. Well, by the time that thing hits the paycheck and it's taxed, I mean, who cares? Like, make it something that people could get excited about, because it's your lowest cost recruitment option. One of the things that we do, especially at peak times, is we'll throw out $1,000 and make the bulk of it at the front, or just all of it at the front. I mean, it just seems silly to me to have something out there and then make it so small that it's not even worth going after.
Wow, that's putting your money where your mouth is. That's really good.
Well, I just think that value is, I mean, the savings you have versus anywhere else on a referral, like, you can't match it.
Yeah, Ryan's spot on with that. Not only is it the lowest cost, but it's your highest retention and generally,
Absolutely.
correlated with highest performance. And so what we recommend, I'm talking to the controller or CFO, and he or she's saying, okay, well, what should a referral bonus look like? Well, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to calculate your current cost per hire.
Mm-hmm.
You just add up all your recruiting costs and estimate the labor inputs and divide it by the number of people you hired last year, and you're going to get a number somewhere between $1,500 and $3,000, all in cost to hire someone. So offering $1,000 bonus, you're actually saving money every time you hire someone. You're already spending the money, and so you can. Yeah, go ahead, Ryan.
I was just saying, the other thing that we compare it to that's very easily digested is how much we're spending on contract labor.
Right.
Versus bringing that person in that's actually going to be on our payroll.
Yeah. What do you think is, when we talk about partnerships with local schools, how do you do that? What is it, beyond schools? How do you partner with people that source business, applicants and good employees, best in class employees? Who are you partnering with?
Very funny that's on here, because literally when this call is over, I am meeting Peter Reese, who is the director of the hospitality program at Florida Atlantic University. In the lobby, we're gonna he's gonna tour the hotel, and we're gonna hang out and catch up. We have a great relationship for our South Florida hotels with FAU, so they have a great hospitality school. So that's one. It's obviously it's low-hanging fruit to partner with any university that has a hospitality program, and I'm amazed at how many people don't do it. He tells me all the time he's always surprised that, I mean, he begs local hotels to send him job openings.
Right.
And it's like, that's an easy one. And then some high schools. I mean, Broward County has a high school, that's a specific high school that has hospitality programs in it. And we've partnered with one of our hotels in Fort Lauderdale to be their basic partner hotel. So we've had a lot of success with that.
Yeah. No, that's good. And then this ties back to that first slide of flexibility, because if you want students, you better be flexible, right? Right, Adam? Isn't that
100%? I mean, I'm often reminded, even here at our company, we're hiring individuals who've been in the workforce 3 to 4 years and have never had to come to work in a place physical employment before. Like you think about 5 years into your career, you know, you're going to grew up on site 5 days a week in a suit and going at it. The generation, it's not their fault. It's just different. And so there's a whole set of expectations that have emerged in this market now. Folks 4 and 5 years in, who may be considering a career switch, for example, into hospitality, are learning to manage people for the first time, but they've been doing it remotely. I mean, it's just super interesting. And I say that because that has bled into workplace attitudes at the college level. And so folks are coming out of programs with the set of expectations that don't necessarily match the reality. And it's incumbent on us on the front end to sell the industry in an accurate but best foot forward way, and just set their expectations for what the role is.
Yeah. What about mentees, mentors? Is this an important part of keeping people and recruiting and training and upward mobility? I mean, talk a little bit about how you create, maybe this goes into the idea of retention or creating the culture again, but what is your thoughts, Ryan, and some of these progressive strategies?
Yeah, I think that's super important. I mean, I just look at myself and how I kind of came up through the ranks. I had a mentor, and one of the things I take a lot of pride in is having a couple, I guess, mentees. And I see it in a lot of our properties where there's folks that have made a connection with their supervisor, their leader, and they kind of embrace that relationship and learning all they can to kind of move up. And one of the things I tell people all the time about our industry, I mean, I don't know of too many places where you can go in with no experience and learn on the job and very quickly make a life-changing salary, ascend up from an hourly paycheck to salary very quickly, just because we have so many opportunities and they're so hard to fill. And when you kind of go back to that mentor-mentee relationship, I mean, those folks can really help accelerate someone's career.
Yeah, no, that's good. And in this, just finishing out on the sourcing and dealing with the logistics of hiring and everything, what are you seeing? I know AI is coming as prevalent. What else are you seeing in Hireology that makes it helpful for people to get the right people? What are some of the technology and some of the things that you're doing that helps here, Adam?
Well, I think it starts, Paul, with the philosophy that every minute we can take out of administrative work and enable you to put it into FaceTime is a really good minute reinvested. And so we are spending a lot of time leveraging new technology, and AI I think is really misunderstood. It's moving so quickly. In the recruiting sense, all it means is the technology is going to do a bunch of administrative stuff for you so that you can do the face-to-face things that really matter. So AI in recruiting is about operational support. Help me schedule interviews automatically. Let me cut my no-show interview rate by sending text alerts to folks the day before. It's calendar syncing. It's, hey, go into the database and find me everyone that looks like Paul, because Paul sure is good at the front desk, and I'd like to see who we have in our database that looks like Paul. Those are all really important things. What we will never have AI do is say, Paul is a good fit for this job.
Right.
Or don't hire Paul. We will never be in that business. And I think, a pretty emerging, heavily litigious emerging gray area that I know AHLA is all over is this notion of technology doing decision-making on the hiring front. So we want to make sure our customers, don't step in it. And so we're laser focused on the things that help them automate administrative tasks in the back office so that the HR team or talent acquisition team or managers walking the floor can be far more efficient and spend more time with people evaluating fit versus automating a decision as to whether someone's a fit or not. I just think, that's just the wrong application of the technology and fraught with lots of risk.
No, I agree. So we've been going at this for a little while, and I know the attention span is diminishing in this world. So I just want to thank you. I think first thank to for both of you to be on this and do this together, and for the companies. We have what was really cool. Your company, Adam, lives by example. When Amber Huff got on the call and our when we were getting set up, one of the first things she told me was she's proud that she's going on an award-winning trip to Dominican Republic. And so you're obviously honoring your staff with recognition and proper rewards. So kudos for you for living the culture. And Ryan,
yeah, thank you.
Well, absolutely. And Ryan, we asset manage a couple of hotels run by your company, and I've just been very impressed so far with how quickly we feel the culture, see the changes in the numbers. So it's really impressive to see what TPG is doing. And I know, can we talk about your new role yet, or is it still in the works?
Not quite yet.
Okay. Some exciting
Thank
news
you
to
for
come.
asking,
So
though.
stay tuned. But any closing remarks? I'll start with you, Ryan, and then I'll let Adam finish for us.
No, I thank you for having me, Paul and Adam. This was really great. And, anytime I get an opportunity to help folks, just even if it's a reminder that, we get to serve people every day. We don't have to. And it's not just our guests, it's our employees. And, I said at the top of the webinar is that, employees who feel like they matter, they're going to make customers feel like they matter. What's happening on the inside is always going to be felt on the outside. So as leaders, we get a privilege, I think, to be able to impact that.
Well said. Well said. Any closing remarks from you, Adam?
Yeah, first off, I can't wait to read Ryan's book. I'm going to do that.
I'll send you a copy.
Look forward to that. For folks listening, and Paul, thank you for the wonderful moderating job. Being great at recruiting starts with setting your intention to be great at it. So if you're lamenting that it's tough, and it's been tough for the last several years, and you're not sure what to do, step one is just decide you're going to focus on it. And when you decide you want to focus on it, then it's a function of picking the opportunities and finding the right tools and process to help support you. And if that's where you are in that journey, Hireology would love to help you do that. But whether we ever work together or not, we're here for the industry, and excited to see what I would deem the acceleration of the professionalization of human capital management in the hotel business. It's very exciting to see right now.
I like that. Professionalism of human capital. That's good. Well, I'm honored to be your moderator. I appreciate it. Horwath is one of the greatest consulting groups, but we believe deeply in people first, and our recruiting is probably one of the most important things we do, and we're highly selective, and we love learning about new talent and tools, and we love learning about learning from people like Adam and Ryan. So I hope this was helpful for everybody. Thank you to Michelle and Amber and everyone else who behind the scenes to really make this work. So thank you and have a great day, everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks, Paul. Thanks, Brian.
Thanks. Bye-bye.